All right, get in focus. Click the links for Odysee, Bit Chute. Join the channel. Become a member, and you get all this backdoor stuff. Or support channel the other means through the links. Nothing says privilege like being 200 pounds in a first world nation. Finding stories like this are pretty rare. And I read this, and then I read it again. I thought it almost felt like you've told me it's a Babylonian Bee or Babylon Bee in the Onion type of article. Yeah, it would make sense. I read it, and then I took a look at the woman who was behind much of this, and I looked at her and I looked at the article. I thought, no, this is where we are now. This is where we are. People skating out on thin ice. It's like they have no idea. Sometimes exclusion is a good thing. Run Fair Boogaloo. So Charles Dickens, if you're not familiar with this specific fair, it's basically a Ren fair, but honestly, it looks like these costumes are definitely a step up from my local Renaissance fair, which I went to not too long ago, where, there are people like the easiest costume at a Ren fair is you dress like a peasant, right? It's just a cloth with like a rope belt. It looks convincing, but it's like these are costumes at a whole different level. Seems like a higher class thing. And also, like, these people are, like, at the cow polish or something. Sounds like there's tens of thousands of people going to this. I had no idea he was that popular. So the short version is you got a private company that puts on a fancy dress shindig about Charles Dickens. There are probably, like, costume contests, and then we'd be doing scenes from the books. People probably see their own, create their own costumes. It sounds like a fun weekend, like a Comic Con, but it's still a business owned by a company. This was a family company. It's been in the family for like over 50 years. The fair company employs thousands of people. So this is way bigger than your standard Ren fair or even comic convention. The thing is, it is a business. They built it from the ground up. They know what they're doing. They've been in this business for a long time, and they're running like a well-oiled machine. And you know how you're running things, and things are hammering on all cylinders, and then somebody comes along, and you're like, oh God, these people are going to be problems. Like, you just know that. So it's not a safe space, like from crime, because I'm sure there's not a whole lot of crime that happens at the fair. Black cast members boycott Dickens Christmas fair over failure to prevent. Now, this is where you say alleged istophobic behavior. There's a lot of... Here's the thing, the saying there goes, oh, you should smile in your pictures more. And they always straw man some blonde, blue-eyed idiot playing the role of the sexist when they say these kind of things. That's an old meme. It's not that you should smile in pictures. You do whatever you want to do in pictures. It's, well, one, the composition of the picture should have everyone on the same thematic page. Like, you're all smiling, or you're all looking in the same direction, or there's all something, like you're all doing something. So the two chicks here have at least got some attempt of smilage, and they're doing something there. Major boobage going on. But this chick doesn't look happy. This chick looks like she doesn't have time for whatever it is you're trying to sell her. And these chicks... looks like there might be some mental illness here. And it's weird how you say, like, you can look at somebody's face and kind of get a vibe. Humans are really good at teasing apart vocal inflections and facial cues, because humans, we would have to live together for a long time. You have to know body movements from other people. And so when you see some people's faces, and if you had to guess mental illness is in faces like on a picture, I'm guessing it would be more than random correlation. You'd be able to look at pictures of people, and if you had to check possible cognitive issues, that you'd be able to hit more often than not, because there's something about the human face. The affect is wrong. It's like, yeah, you can catch somebody in a bad picture, but like all these chicks, these look like major pains in the asses. Okay, maybe not these two chicks, but like they're not looking like they're having fun. So when I say like smile more in pictures, I mean present the image you want to present. Are you, like, if you're all smiling and you all have to smile, if you're all looking serious and you're looking at something, you're dealing with something serious, but you're all dressed up in like a kind of I mean, you're not dressed to go to war, you're dressed to go to a ball or something like this. So you should be smiling to go to a ball, right? I'm saying the image is the juxtaposition between the facial expressions and the ornate, very carefully crafted costumes. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so it sounds like it started off as an English fare for European people, because Dickens is probably more likely to be their cup of tea. So enter in the troublemakers, the people who just can't go out and enjoy themselves. They just cannot get out of their own way. You've met people like this your whole life, where you see them and you instantly know, like, yeah, we need to immediately distance ourselves. They have to destroy whatever they get involved in, or they have to take over. And the sense of entitlement in this article is absolutely insane. The absolute lack of self-awareness. And the thing is, this immediate need to other yourself and out yourself and call yourself a woman of color. Okay, so are the English women the women of the light? Are they the marginalized and oppressed English women of the light? And you're the women of color? It's like, you want to be in your own group, but then when other people get in their own group, you get a little kind of bent out of shape about it. It's like, oh, how dare these English women form their own, or these European people form their own clubs? It's like, aren't you just doing this? Well, yes, but it's different. No, it's not. It's like, either you all make it work as one team, and it would have been nice to try to make America work as one team, Team America, World Police. But it appears like people just don't want to make that work, which is a shame, because we could have had something nice. But it's like, people just see something nice and they figure, let's find a way to screw it up. Anyway, so SCWs are parasites. They try to enter into a system and they slowly start seizing power and making demands. They change the original thing until they make it unrecognizable. Then when the business fails, they leave the corpse behind and they find some new host to infest. They were never interested in the hobby. They're interested in the power that comes along with it, even if the power is very minor. And if they can exert control over other people, they'll jump through hoops to get that little bit of power. Sometimes even if it costs them time and money to gain power over something that's like, you get the end of it, you're like, oh, I went through all this trouble and I got this power over this little tiny little piece of a association. It's like, well, did it bring you money? No money in it. Did it bring you joy? No joy. Now, did it get you laid at least? No, I didn't get money, joy, or didn't really get anything out of it. Oh. Hashtag winning, right? You spend 18 months of your life doing stuff. People just spend the time of their life doing this kind of stuff. And you're like, so, during that year making this your tilting at windmills, wouldn't it have been better to, I don't know, make walking like your cause of war. Make walking a little bit every day. Like, you film yourself walking. It's like, you can make a YouTube channel. It would be a better use of your time than fighting to win something that you don't really care about in the first place. People, there's a lot of mental illness, and there's also a lot of oppositional defiance disorder and stubbornness. So most of us are fine with opening up our hobbies to outsiders, though now we're learning that is a losing proposition. Absolutely gatekeep these people. I would taser these people if they tried to jump into a hobby where I had the ability to keep them out. So what happens is they come into this hobby where you're dressing up in English costumes, and some of the contests are period correct. You've got to look like the characters. You got to have the same sex and the same physical features. And to make the great Dickens Christmas fair safe and equitable space for all, well, it's not. It's an English thing. It's not. You can't be something equitable. I don't know. I'm not sure if you know the definition of equitable. It's an English thing. It's an English story. It's an English vibe. So you're kind of coming in as a guest. It would be like, oh, we're gonna, if they were throwing some kind of thing, some kind of Shaka Zulu recreation. If you're a fan of the Haggard stories, and you go, oh, I'm gonna come dressed as Panda. I'm gonna come dressed as Setewayu, and we're gonna recreate the great battles at the river, the Maasai versus the whatever. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to come. It's like, they would lose their freaking minds if you said that. They would go crazy. I'm like, what's the difference? Or, what they're trying to do is even worse. They're going in there and be like, yeah, I'm going to tell you how to run this Zulu festival. It's like, stay in your lane, Mr. Englishman. It's what they're doing, and like they've been treated like purse puppies for so long that like they're not giving the honest feedback, which is what most people need to let you know what other people are feeling. So this is an issue for them because half of them are like transgender otherkin. So if you want to play the Queen of England, you got to look like the Queen because this is the company's rules. They're trying for period accuracy. You have to at least be European, and that is hate speech to them. If you tell them that men are not women and can't play these roles, they absolutely lose their minds. This group of women are insane. They wanted to establish an oversight board to control a private company. First of all, go fuck yourself. Just go fuck right out the door and just keep walking. You're done with us. The nicer way to say that is to invite them to just start their own Ren Fair. You can probably crowdfund the thing and start something small. And if people are into it, it'll catch on. It's like it doesn't take much. You can crowdfund the initial Ren Fair and charge at the door, and if you get a few hundred people to dress in period costumes, and if it's the thing is like when these people do stuff, they do stuff like, oh, it's going to be trans and diverse and inclusive, and it's like they're asking so much, and the thing is, it doesn't feel authentic. It's like, oh, we're going to have furries who are going to be like the Dickens Christmas thing, and it's like we're going to be Satanists, but we're going to be doing this Christmas thing. It's like, yeah, it doesn't catch on for more than a season because it just doesn't, you're not doing Dickens anymore. You're not doing Shakespeare. You're not doing a Ren Fair. You're not doing whatever the original thing was. You're doing something, you're doing your own thing and you're just attaching the name to it. So it's like, yeah, you do these things and you crowdfund it for like 1 year and then it falls apart because it's not the thing. It's not organic and authentic. So that kind of stuff just doesn't catch on. So if they want to start their own and they want to be like trans, otherkin, furry, all they want, that's fine. But this is a business. They don't have time for this kind of teenage entitled behavior. Some of them are, in their own words, special needs. One wanted a private room to de-stress for something. So is that private room open to anyone who needs it? Because then really what's the point? If, like anyone can go to this, oh no, it's just for people of color. Well, what about everyone else? It doesn't seem fair to treat everyone else that way, does it? Especially when it's in their space. You know, part of treating people equally is treating people equally. And these people have kind of had their butts kissed by the insane liberals for so long that they have no idea. They have no idea about anything anymore. Where at this point you're better off just saying, okay, just go away. We're going to do our own thing. You just go off and do your own thing. Start your own Ren Fair. The thing is, all this stuff costs a lot of time and money because there's a reason that these idiots are performers and not owners of the show because, it takes a certain gravitas to start your own business and have the absolute stress of being responsible for money moving around and for personalities who are depending on you. That takes, I guess gravitas is the right word. It takes a certain, intestinal fortitude where people like this, if they want to start something, they would have infighting and it would break apart like within a season or two. And I'm not just pulling out of my ass. I study SJWs for years. They do things like this, and it doesn't matter if it's like in Antifa circles or BLM circles. They'll start organizations and they'll try to do something and they'll go, oh, what happened? Oh, the infighting was just off the hook. So we just had to disband. It's like, oh, okay, but it's like, this is what you're complaining about with these English people. And it's like, it was racist when you're talking about English, but it's not racist when it's your own in-group. Oh, what are you, like a Hugo Boss wearing bigot or something? Like, they abhor having logic shown to them. They've been drinking SJW Kool-Aid for so long, they feel that they're entitled to other people's labor. Nobody cares about all this like microaggression, marginalized equity, systemic systems of, disenfranchised existential praxis, anti-disestablishmentarianism stuff. It's just like these are all just hot words. They're words of the day. And yes, they all have meanings. But usually it's issue, rule, analysis, argument, conclusion. It's not, these people argue with, here's our conclusion, and we're going to circle back to the conclusion. We're going to tell you the conclusion, we're going to tell you what we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you what we told you, and then we're going to tell you what we just told you. It's like, but you never showed your argument, and it wasn't logic. It was just feelings. It's like, if you have feelings, we can have feelings too. I feel like I'm a woman of color. I'm a butterfly, and I'm going to fly away from all this bullshit. People try to be nice to these people. They try to make reasonable accommodations. Not me. I knew that these people were toxic pussies right from the start. But normies tried to be nice. Liberals tried to be nice. Bay Area people, LA people, New York people, that kind of stuff. I was done with these people 20 years ago. Fuck them. At this point, I would soylent green them. And I was going to say I have a modest proposal for this problem. But then I thought, oh, wait, that's the wrong guy. It's like Swift or something. This is Dickens. But I wonder if they know that. The thing is, and I'm not well read or anything. They come into a private, like my idea of literature is Henry Rider Haggard talking about his African adventures, which is a fantastic author. He's that kind of guy who's kind of Indiana Jones was kind of loosely based on. I just think he's just a perfect example of adventure fiction. So they come into like a private business and they literally want to take it over. A private business that people have worked, sounds like, I think it's about 50 years old for. That's a lot of work that's going into there. And you're talking about, I don't know how much money is running through this thing, but it's probably in the hundreds of millions. So listen, you want to come in and take over a business, you have to buy controlling interest of the shares, or you have to form your own company, which isn't that hard. I mean, you guys are POC purse puppies. You could crowdfund something. We're going to rent a hotel room for, $12,000, and we're going to have a costume show, and we're going to have a meal. And it's like, you could probably set the whole thing up for like 50 grand or less. I mean, you can easily do it at least 1 year. It's like, sometimes you just have to do things to see how hard they are, and then it makes you appreciate everyone else's work. It's like comic book. People crowdfunding comic books. It's like, oh, crowdfunding comic book, that takes a lot of work. Yeah, so does putting it together and then shipping it out and then dealing with problems and then still taking care of problems and dealing with customer service. It's like there's a lot that goes into getting a comic book from an idea on a YouTube channel into somebody's house. It's like, that's a year of your time. And you have to do stuff like that. And then you realize, like, oh, it takes a lot of work. I have a lot of appreciation for someone who's setting up one of their complaints was someone was called Aunt Jemima. So that's, allegedly, right? And like, are you talking about like maybe someone who had special needs called you Aunt Jemima? Like, these people are saying some of these are, they've got autism or something, some kind of thing like this. It's like, well, that means other people also have autism. So if someone says something without a filter, you get very, very offended. But isn't it possible that the person who said that has some sort of issue also? And what do you expect them to do? If you allege that somebody says something and they called you Aunt Jemima, maybe they're special needs, maybe they're not, maybe they're foreigner, maybe they F the foreigners, right? Maybe they just didn't know the significance of it. These are part of the social lubricant of you let some things fly off your back. And it goes both ways, but to these people, it's not a two-way street. And so if you're saying this time is money with this thing, you want them to stop and have a board to deal because some customer called you an Aunt Jemima. It's like every minute we deal with a board, we get like people together. It's like, okay, we'll multiply those people by the hourly rate and then the hourly insurance and the rental. It's like, okay, so to deal with this issue costs us $12,000. That's insane. It's easier to just have you ignore the purported slight and move on with your fucking life without being such a whiny bitch. How hard is that? The rest of us, we live our life that way. The little slights, little disagreements. Most of us, we see people, hey, maybe they're having a bad day too, and we just move on with their life. Because it's like, this isn't our whole life of like trying to cause trouble. These people are absolute entitled assholes. And even in the people in the comments on Twitter and on the website, we're saying that these people have overstayed their welcome. They started with goodwill, but then they just burned through it with all this cultural Marxist propaganda crap. If I was talking to them, I would just say, listen, we're all people of color. We're all marginalized, oppressed, and disadvantaged, and othered, and whatever, in some way. But obviously you just can't have conversations like that, not in current year, bigot, because it's not a private talk. You're not talking to one person, because they're going to go right to social media. If not, just start pulling out their cameras and filming you. And like, as soon as somebody pulls out the camera, it's like, they're not interested in having a conversation. It's just like, I don't think this is going to be productive. I'm going to move on. So the best thing is when they start making demands is simply just say no and don't give a reason. Just a simple no. And invite them to go find another convention. And I mean, they could kvetch all they want, but eventually it's like they're not going to talk to a brick wall. If you say, listen, this isn't working out, you're causing us time and money. We don't have it. You're going to need to go find another convention. And this is, it sounds like, it just looks like a good time for people to walk around, see people in costumes, probably hear some, I don't know what, his stories, have a beer, and just, have a fun time. You can't have a fun time with people who, what do they call them, barracks lawyers, or there's that black guy who was talking about race relations 100 years ago, and he said, there's some people who don't want to move forward because there's more money in just causing problems. And unfortunately, right now, and for the past 20 years, there's been money in causing problems and getting attention and dopamine and all this kind of stuff. And until that incentive changes, you're not going to have... Well, I think things are changing now, because I think people are saying, yeah, we're just going to go our own way. Like, oh, I can't believe you're saying that. Yeah, I mean, you can only push people so far before even the San Francisco liberal looks at his cars getting broken into, his garage is getting broken into. It's like, say you're a San Francisco liberal. Yeah, San Francisco liberal. Yeah. Marginalized, oppressed, systemic. It's like, so how many times, like, eventually, you keep asking him this, and eventually he's going to be wearing Hugo Boss himself. Better edit this out at the end of the video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.